Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and how are you doing today? I hope things are well with you wherever you are in the world. So, I have been very fortunate over the course of the last few days or so to have been able to talk about some thoughts I have about this very interesting release from the Criterion collection, which is Spine 1000 Godzilla, the Showa era films 1954 to 1975. But what I would like to do today is talk with you about one aspect of this set. That is the issue of the commentaries. Once again, this is a set that sets forth the 15 Showa era films of Godzilla, starting with Godzilla from 1954 and ending with Terror of Mechagodzilla 1975. Thus, the name of the set being the Showa era films 1954 to 1975. So there are a total of 15 films, plus the so-called Americanized version of Godzilla, called Godzilla King of the Monsters, plus the Americanized version of King Kong vs. Godzilla. So what you have is, in total, you have 17 films in this set. So it's not a bad set at all. In fact, I think it's very good, and I've had the opportunity to talk about some of its strengths in other videos. But today I want to talk about what I consider to be one of the set's weaknesses, which is the issue of the commentaries, or another way to look at it, the apparent lack of commentary tracks for most of the movies. And what exactly that means, and what kinds of options are available to those of you who might be interested in seeking out any kind of English language commentary tracks for some of the films in this set. Okay, so with respect to the commentaries, let's remember that this set includes the film Godzilla, and Godzilla from 1954 and the Americanized version from 1956. So those two films are included in this set. And if we recall, just as with the earlier individual Blu-ray release from Criterion from some years back, those two films have as optional soundtracks audio commentaries by David Kallett. In other words, David Kallett provides an audio commentary track for the 1954 Godzilla and the 1956 Americanized version of Godzilla with Raymond Burr. So in fact, David Kallett provides two commentary tracks. Those commentary tracks are carried over into the Showa era films set, which means that we have two commentary tracks for the Godzilla and the Americanized Godzilla films. So on the one hand, I would say that is very good indeed. The David Kallett tracks, I think, are very informative, and they seek to be wide in scope in what they are trying to cover. So they're incredibly good, especially for anyone who is seeking to find more information, more background information, more historical context, more information about the actors and the certain circumstances of filming, etc. It is chock full of very interesting information, so I would strongly recommend those. But as far as commentary tracks go, that's it. That's it as far as the set is concerned. Now, remember that while there are a lot of Criterion releases that include commentary tracks as optional soundtracks, not all Criterion releases have commentary tracks. So it's not the case that the fact that this set is lacking in a commentary track for any of the other films, that is not in and of itself, I think, a minus thing or a negative thing. Okay, so I don't think that it itself is a weakness. But I think it is somewhat of a, how should I put it, a missed opportunity, shall we put it that way? Because first of all, the David Callett commentaries for the two films that I mentioned before make the lack of commentaries for any of the other films somewhat stand out. And so it seems to be somewhat conspicuous, right? Which makes the lack of commentaries somewhat striking, perhaps. The other thing is that there have been English language commentary tracks that have been produced for other non-Criterion releases of the films in the past in English. And so the fact that we had other releases in English that had commentary tracks for some of the films makes the fact that there are no commentary tracks for these other films for the Criterion set also all the more conspicuous. So where does that leave us, right? That leaves us with a little bit of a hole, I would say, in this set. And as I said earlier, it's somewhat of a missed opportunity, I think. Now, I can speculate as to why perhaps this is the case with this set. In other words, why do the other films not have an audio commentary option? And I can get to that in a second. But before I do, what I'd like to show you is the existence of other non-Criterion releases where, in fact, you might be able, not might, but you would be able to find English language commentary tracks, which are very interesting. So let's start with some other options. In other words, if you are looking for audio commentary tracks for some of the other films, what are your options? Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is this, which is a DVD box set from the US, and this is the DVD box set of the what's known as the Classic Media labels DVD releases of a number of the Godzilla films, not all of them, but a number of them on DVD. So we have Gojira, and then the Americanized Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then we have Godzilla Raids Again, then Mothra versus Godzilla, then Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, and then Invasion of Astral Monster, and then All Monsters Attack, and then Terror of Mechagodzilla. So we have a number, but not all of them, but a good number of the films. What is great about these releases is that they have, well, there's a number of things that I think are great about the releases, but one of the things that's really great about them is they have audio commentary tracks for some of the versions, but I'll get to that in a second. So, for example, the film Gojira comes in this DVD right here, and this has the two versions of the film, and each version has an audio commentary track given by the Godzilla experts and the Ishiro Honda film experts and Japanese film experts in general, Steve Reifel and Ed Gojizensky. Now, if those names sound familiar, it should be, because those are the two gentlemen who wrote the essays that are included in the Showa era Criterion set. So Steve Reifel wrote that long essay at the start of the set, and Ed Gojizensky wrote the essays for each of the films. the sort of write-ups for each of the films. And so they are involved with the set in terms of the writing. They have also provided audio commentary tracks in the past, so examples of which being their audio commentary tracks for the 2 Gojira films as featured on this DVD of Classic Media. I should point out that there was a Blu-ray of this as well, but that is out of print as far as I can tell, but that's worth checking out if you can find it. Also, I think this particular DVD is out of print as well, although there might be some other versions that could be still available somewhere. But in any event, my friends, the audio commentary tracks by Steve Ryfle and Ed Godziszewski provide a kind of nice overview of the material and information, not dissimilar to the type of information that David Callett provides in his Criterion commentary tracks for the 2 versions of Godzilla. But it's a different viewpoint, a different presentation style. I would say that the Steve Ryfle and Ed Godziszewski presentation style is really good, very easy to listen to, very kind on the ear, if you know what I mean, and so filled to the brim with useful information, enlightening points about the production and the history and the like. So this is strongly recommended if you can find the tracks and listen to them and see what it is they have to offer. Incidentally, I should also point out here that there was also a DVD release from the UK, the BFI, also released on DVD the film Gojira, and among the special features included on this release of Gojira, which is the Japanese version only, the 1954 version only, is a commentary track by Steve Ryfle, Ed Godziszewski, and Keith Aiken, who is also a figure that was a person that figures into the world of Godzilla. So you have all these 3 gentlemen featured on the same track for the Japanese version of Godzilla as it's presented in this BFI DVD. So it's a different track from the tracks that you get from the Classic Media release. So if you're interested in getting another commentary track, you might be interested in trying to track down this commentary track from the BFI release, which is, as I say, different from the commentary track that's featured on the Classic Media release, which is then different from the commentary track which you can find on the Showa era Criterion release and the DVD or Blu-ray of the individual release of Godzilla from the Criterion collection. But these are interesting and very helpful alternative commentary tracks if you're looking for them for Godzilla. So this, I think, is still in print as of now, which is November 2019. This is, I understand it, out of print, although maybe you can still find copies at reasonable prices floating around used, or maybe you can still find copies floating around elsewhere. Again, this is the DVD, but this also was released as a Blu-ray as well, if you're interested in that. So that is the state of the commentary tracks for the original Gojira film and the American version, Godzilla King of the Monsters. Next is the film Godzilla Raids Again. And this film is the second film in the Showa era series. So it was a film that was released in Japan in 1955, so very quickly after the original film had been released and was a big success. So unfortunately, the Criterion collection does not include any commentary track for the film Godzilla Raids Again, which is unfortunate because there was actually an English commentary track that was made for a certain version of Godzilla Raids Again. Now, let me take a step back. This right here is the DVD release by Classic Media, and this is the DVD of Godzilla Raids Again, as you can see. What's great about this release is that it has two versions of the film. First is the Japanese version, which is labeled here as being 81 minutes. And then there is the English dubbed version of the film, which was given the title originally of Gigantus the Fire Monster, but now has been retitled for purposes of this release as Godzilla Raids Again. And that is labeled here as being 79 minutes. So we have the two versions of the film, the Japanese version and then the English dub version, which is great. Plus there is a commentary track. Now, I should be very clear. The commentary track is by Steve Reifel and friends, and it is for the English dub version. In other words, the commentary track is not given for the Japanese version, but rather the commentary track is given for the English dub version. So, what does this mean? This means that you're getting the track that describes certain elements of the English dub. Of course, you're getting also information that pertains to the Japanese release and the Japanese film version and the history, etc. But you get also some crossover information that pertains to both versions, or to the American version or to the Japanese version only. So it's a bit of a mix or a hybrid, if you want to think of it that way. Again, there is no commentary track for this film on this set. Some people have been mentioning, well, it would have been nice if they took the classic media commentary track and they just Criterion. It would have been nice if Criterion was able to license the classic media track and then have it be included in the Showa era set. That could have been a possibility, of course. But for those of you who think that way, let me just remind everyone that, once again, the commentary track was given to the English dub version of the film. There is no commentary track given to the Japanese version of the film. That's not to say that that a commentary track for the English dub of a film cannot be applied to the Japanese version of the film. I'm not saying that at all. It's certainly possible. In fact, it's well within the realm of possibility, I would say. But I do also appreciate the fact that that might take a little bit of work, and one might have to consider the fact that the versions are of different lengths, so you would be applying an audio commentary track for one film to another version of the same film, but it's of a different running time. So that might require a certain bit of editing of the audio commentary track. Also, there might be some editorial decisions that would need to be made. For instance, is it worth it to include information given in an audio commentary track that pertains only to the English language dub, and then to have that track applied to the Japanese version of the film? I don't know. I think one can answer that both ways very reasonably. So, which is to say that I think it's a reasonable approach to have if one thinks that kind of application of one commentary track to another version of the same film is not reasonable. So I think that's a perfectly reasonable approach to have, if indeed you have that. So those, I would speculate, as being possible reasons why there was no commentary track given to the Japanese version of the film as presented here, right? And then, of course, then what about making a new commentary track for purposes of the Godzilla release by Criterion? I think that would have been very possible, in fact. It could have happened, right? After all, Steve Reifel and Ed Godziszewski were involved with the essay writing, so I don't think they would have refused, had they been asked, to make a commentary track, a new one, for the Criterion release. I think that would have been really great. But again, we don't know what the situation is with Toho, the licensors. Maybe their approval would, I would assume, be needed. Maybe they wouldn't be willing to approve that sort of thing. Again, this is all speculation, but there could be a number of reasons why such commentary track was eventually not included on this Criterion release. Be that as it may, of course, what remains now is the fact that there is the commentary track in English for Godzilla Raids Again, the English dub version. So, if you are interested in getting a commentary track for at least one of the versions of the film, I would recommend trying to track down the classic media release of this, which is a DVD. it's really worth it because you're also getting the English language version of the film itself, which is another thing I want to point out or want to discuss in a separate video. But for a number of reasons, I think it's worth trying to track this down. One of those reasons being the fact that it includes an English language commentary, which otherwise would not be found on the Criterion Showa era collection. Let me point out very quickly that this is the Universal US Blu-ray release of King Kong vs. Godzilla, the US version. And this does not have any English language commentary at all. And it is my understanding that this film has never been made available with any English language commentary on any official release of the film. So that is the state of the situation as far as commentaries for this film. There are no commentaries in English as far as any official release goes. So that is King Kong vs. Godzilla. But if we go to the next film in the series, which is Mothra vs. Godzilla, we have once again the classic media release on DVD, which is right here. And this is great because it has the Japanese language version and also the English dubbed version of the film, Godzilla versus the Thing. And it also has a commentary track by, once again, Ed Godziszewski and Steve Reifel. However, just like with the previous release, Godzilla Raids Again, the commentary track given on this release of Mothra vs. Godzilla is given to the English dub version only. There is no commentary track given for the Japanese language version. And so my comments for Godzilla Raids Again apply here as well. I can speculate as to why such commentary track that's found here was not included here. I can also speculate as to why no new commentary track was prepared for the Criterion release with respect to this film. But that's the state of it as we have it right now. So if you are looking for a commentary track for at least the English language version of this film, then your best bet is to try to track down the classic media DVD release of this film, Mothra vs. Godzilla. The same is true for the classic media release of Gojira, the Three-Headed Monster, because we have a commentary track, this time by David Callett. So David Callett provides the commentary track to the English dub version of the film, not to the Japanese version, but to the English dub version of Gojira, the Three-Headed Monster. Therefore, once again, my comments with respect to the commentary track for this particular film that I made before also apply to this release as well. So, with that, if you are looking for a commentary track in English with respect to this film, then you can find it on this classic media DVD release, which you can try to find. Again, I think this is out of print, although it might still be made available in different release versions if you're lucky enough to find a copy. So, but once again, if you're looking for the commentary track in English of this film, please try to find the classic media DVD release. Next is the classic media DVD release of Invasion of Astral Monster. And once again, my same comments apply because we have the Japanese version and the English dub version appearing on this disc, which is a DVD, and the commentary track, this time by Godzilla expert Stuart Galbraith IV, given to the English dub version only. So once again, my comments that I said for the previous classic media releases would also apply to this particular release as well. It's a great DVD release, and so I highly recommend it if you can track it down. And again, the commentary track I think is very interesting. Incidentally, I should point out that the poster art that's given on the front here of the classic media DVD release is in fact the poster art for the Japanese re-release of the film, not the original release of the film. And I can tell that because the Japanese re-release title was amended for its re-release by the addition of the words King Kong or I'm sorry, not King Kong, King Ghidorah Tai Gojira, which is appearing in yellow right here. The original title is actually in Japanese language here, and you didn't have these yellow King Ghidorah versus Godzilla included in the Japanese title, but you did for the re-release. So this is, in fact, the poster art for what I understand is the re-release in Japan for the film Invasion of Astral Monster. And then we have the film Birra, Horror of the Deep. This is the Kraken release, a Blu-ray of the film, and this has this is a very good Blu-ray of this, but it doesn't have any commentary track in English. So it's my understanding actually that Birra, Horror of the Deep does not have any English language commentary track to it on any official release of the film. So that's the state of the situation as far as English language commentary tracks go for this film. There aren't any, as far as I am aware, for Birra, Horror of the Deep. Next is the film Son of Godzilla, and this happens to be the Sony Pictures DVD that I have. I understand this is out of print now, but I should point out that it's my understanding that the film Son of Godzilla has never been released on any official release with any English language audio commentary track. So as far as I can tell, just like Birra, Horror of the Deep, as of now there isn't any official English language audio commentary track for this film, Son of Godzilla. Then we come to the film Destroy All Monsters. So once again, the film Destroy All Monsters is included in the Criterion set, but without any commentary track at all. If you are looking for an English language commentary track, your best bet, or your only bet, would be at least on an official release anyway, but it's a little bit interesting with this particular release. This is from Tokyo Shock, Media Blasters, and this is the Blu-ray of Destroy All Monsters. And this particular version that I have here has a commentary by Steve Rifle and Ed Gojira, which is a really interesting commentary track. I highly recommend it. The thing about this Tokyo Shock Blu-ray, though, is that this was recalled because of the fact that Toho, or the licensors, did not necessarily approve of certain aspects of the special features, and so the official release of this film on Blu-ray is actually without any special features because Toho didn't necessarily approve of the version of this Blu-ray that included special features. But there was a batch of these that were actually released, I think accidentally, that included the special features. And so if you can track down the Blu-ray with the special features that includes the commentary track by Steve Rifle and Ed Gojira, then I would recommend that you do so. You can find it sometimes online, maybe for a little bit more. It's not astronomically expensive. It can be a little bit expensive, so I'm not sure if it's necessarily worth it, but I think it is for Godzilla fans out there, especially for anyone who's looking for the commentary track in English accompanying a Blu-ray of this film. So again, the audio commentary track is not necessarily made available in any currently available Blu-ray. So your only bet as of now anyway is to find a kind of recalled, out-of-print Blu-ray of this from Tokyo Shock, Destroy All Monsters. But if you can track it down, it's definitely worth it. Then we go to the film All Monsters Attack, and we go back to the DVDs from Classic Media, and that's the DVD which I have here. This is great because it has the Japanese version and the English dub version, and then it has a audio commentary track, this time by Richard Pusateri. But once again, like with the other Classic Media releases, the commentary track by Richard Pusateri is given only to the English dub version, not to the Japanese language version. So my comments that I made before apply here as well. So if you are looking for an English language commentary track to at least one of the versions of this film, then your best bet is to try to track down this particular DVD from Classic Media for All Monsters Attack. And then going to the film Godzilla vs. Hedorah, which is the next film in the series, the Showa era series, we have here the Kraken release Blu-ray, but like with the other Kraken release Blu-ray that we saw, Birra Horror of the Deep, this has no English language commentary at all. So it is my understanding, therefore, that there is, as of now, no English language commentary track for any official release of the film Godzilla vs. Hedorah. Then going to the film Godzilla vs. Gigan, the same thing applies. This is the Kraken Blu-ray release, but it does not have any English language commentary track. So again, like with Godzilla vs. Hedorah before it, this film, Godzilla vs. Gigan, is one where I understand there is no English language commentary track given to any official release. So that is the state of affairs for these two films. And then we come to a very interesting situation with audio commentary tracks. This film. This is the Blu-ray from Tokyo Shock Media Blasters. This is Godzilla vs. Megalon. And this is, as I say, the Blu-ray. Now, there is no audio commentary track for this particular Blu-ray release. It's just a bare bones release of this. So it's, in that sense, it's not it doesn't have any, it doesn't one-up the Criterion release, because the Criterion release doesn't have a commentary track for Godzilla vs. Megalon, as we know. So that's the Blu-ray of this. But there are copies floating around out there of the DVD version of Godzilla vs. Megalon, which is actually right here as well. Now, the DVD version of Megalon, not all versions, but some of the versions that are floating out there are very interesting, because they include, not all of them, but some of them, if you can find them, they include a commentary track, which is really great. The commentary track that's included for the DVD of Godzilla vs. Megalon is Steve Reifel and Stuart Galbraith IV, so these are two Godzilla experts. The thing about this DVD is that this was something that eventually Toho did not approve of. In other words, the licensor, this is my understanding of the situation, the licensor actually did not approve of the special editions, the special features that were planned to be included for the Tokyo Shock release of this. And so this was not meant to include any special features. However, Tokyo Shock Media Blasters ended up pressing and releasing I think it was a handful of these DVDs, and so they shouldn't have been released, but they were released for whatever reason. So you can find out there floating in the world somewhere, if you look hard enough, the DVD version of Godzilla vs. Megalon, which actually has the commentary track in English. So it's not, again, made official because this was recalled, or it wasn't supposed to have been released in the first place, but it was released, or at least a small number of these DVDs were released. So if you look hard enough, you might be able to track down a copy of this. Otherwise, there isn't any English language audio commentary track on any permitted English official language, on any permitted official release of this film, again, in English. So if you can find it, great, and that's your best and only bet as of now with respect to wanting to get an English language audio commentary track for this film, Godzilla vs. Megalon. Then there is this, which is the DVD, Sony Pictures DVD release of Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. And this is something that has no English language audio commentary track. So it is my understanding that as of now, this film has never been made available on any official release with any English language audio commentary track. So again, that's the state of situation as far as this film is concerned. But if we go to the next and final film in the Showa era, which is Terror of Mechagodzilla, we go back to the classic media DVD releases, and we have this, which has two versions, the Japanese version and one of the English dub versions of the film. It's actually the longer version of the film. There have been actually, there was a number of English language versions of this film, one that was heavily cut and one that was not so heavily cut. And the version in English that's included for the classic media release is the one that was not so heavily cut. And in fact, it's a little bit longer than the Japanese version because it includes a little prologue or a prelude at the very beginning, which is a sort of summing up of what Godzilla is as a character. And such prologue or prelude was not included in the Japanese version of this film, which accounts for the slightly longer running time for the English dub version that's included here. But regarding the commentary track, the commentary track in English is provided by Keith Aiken and Bob Johnson, and it is provided for the English dub version that's included in the classic media release DVD, which is what we have here. So if you are looking for an English language commentary track for the film Terror of Mechagodzilla, the English dub version anyway, your best bet is to try to find the classic media DVD release of the film. Incidentally, I should let you know that the films have also been made available in Japan, the Japanese versions of them anyway, on individual DVD releases and on Blu-ray releases, which is what I have here. And they are really great. Unfortunately, they do not come with any kind of English language support. There are no English subtitles. And so if you are unable to understand Japanese, then it's very likely that these films, it's probably not worth it to try to track down these films because, as I said, none of the features have any English language support. There is no subtitles given to any of the films, etc. And these are not they're not any 4K restorations of any of the films. As some of you may know, there are some efforts being made to create 4K restorations for some of the films, but as of now, none of these Blu-ray releases is a 4K restoration release from Toho. So you're getting sort of these high definition transfers, digital transfers that I understand are actually the same transfers that were later used by Criterion for most of the Showa era films that are included in the set. So, but you're not getting any English subtitles, which is different from the Criterion set, of course, because it has English subtitles. But what you do get with each of the releases is a Japanese language audio commentary track. Now, that's one of the great things about these Japanese releases, is that they do come with Japanese language audio commentary tracks, among other supplements in Japanese. And so it's definitely worth tracking down if you are interested in getting audio commentary tracks in Japanese language anyway. Once again, there aren't any English language subtitles provided, so please be aware of that. But once again, they are made available. I should point out that the commentary tracks they tend to be either given by actors or by certain staff members or crew of a given film or something, and there's always a moderator, and so the commentary tracks, they might be not necessarily a kind of overview of the films that I think a lot of the English language commentary tracks are. So that's one of the good things I think about the English language commentary tracks, is that they really provide or they attempt to provide a kind of overview of information, whereas the commentary tracks here in Japanese are given from a certain point of view and not necessarily from a historian perspective. That being said, of course, they are still very enlightening, very engaging, very good to listen to. And so I feel very fortunate to be able to have these. And but again, I think having these films from the Showa era Godzilla series with the possibility of listening to audio commentary tracks in Japanese means that I think there is a great benefit to having the films made available with an audio commentary track. And so, therefore, I return to my initial point, which is I think it is a bit of a hole in this set that there are no English language audio commentary tracks made available to any of the films other than the first Godzilla and the Americanized version thereof. It's a little bit of a shame. I think it's, once again, a missed opportunity. It could have been something that could have made the set really, really extraordinary. Once again, commentary tracks help with information. They can certainly help with these sorts of films because there are so many production details, so many little interesting bits of production history that are populating the entirety of the series, but they are left pretty much unsaid in the context of this set by the lack of commentary tracks. So if you are relying on the Criterion set, your best bet would be to rely upon the essays given for each film by Ed Gloczenski, who is in fact one of the persons who appears very often in some of the non-Criterion releases, commentary tracks. And so I would strongly suggest, if you are interested in trying to find more history information about each of the Showa era films from Godzilla Raids Again onwards, then I would suggest first reading through all of the essays that are given in the Criterion set here. Next, if you are able to, try to track down some of the commentary tracks that have been made available in some of these other past releases that I have tried to show here in this video. Now, I'm not sure if you can find those commentary tracks by themselves, isolated somewhere online. Perhaps if you look hard enough online, I'm sure something might pop up. But if you're looking for the physical media releases, they are the ones that I have just shown in this video. Other than that, my friends, please note that when you are getting this Criterion set, you are not getting any new audio commentary track. You are getting the commentary tracks that were made available in previous Godzilla release from Criterion, but that's it. So be wary of that point. Just keep that point in mind if you are one of those people who are on the fence, as it were, and still deciding whether or not to get the set. That could be a deal breaker for you, who knows. In that case, perhaps it might be more worth your while to try to track down the other releases from non-Criterion labels that I mentioned earlier in this video. Again, it's really up to you and where you are in terms of what kind of things you want to get out of the Godzilla films, etc. So once again, I just want to point out that I do personally think that the Criterion set is weakened somewhat by the fact that it lacks audio commentaries tracks for most of the films. It's a shame because I think they would have really helped. It would have been a great opportunity to create new ones, but once again, I can only speculate as to the reasons why no commentary tracks were ultimately provided. But still, there are other aspects of this set which I think are very great and very worthwhile. So hopefully, my friends, for those of you who have the set, hopefully you are able to enjoy it. I certainly enjoy the set very much, don't get me wrong, but I do also want to acknowledge the fact that I do think that it is not a perfect set for a certain number of reasons, one of which being the lack of commentaries. So with that, my friends, I just want to leave it at that for now. I will try to make other videos on the Godzilla set, but in the meantime, if you have any thoughts or comments or questions or anything, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below. I'd be very happy to hear what it is you have to say. So with that, my friends, that's it. So until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well, and please keep on watching a lot of great movies. So until we meet again, my friends, cheers.